Welcome to GovCon Unscripted, where we dive into the unfiltered stories and strategies from all around the world of government contracting. Join host Chelsea Roberts as she explores how to navigate, thrive, and win in this complex but lucrative industry.
Welcome to GovCon Unscripted. This is your host, Chelsea Roberts. Today's episode is a part of a series that we're calling Success After Service. We're featuring brilliant minds with wisdom to share from throughout the federal ecosystem, folks that served in the military and have transitioned out and found some success after their time, either in federal or military service. I hope that you enjoy this episode and the series, and if you haven't yet, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share the podcast with your friends. All right. Hey, everyone, and welcome back to GovCon Unscripted. I'm your host, Chelsea Roberts, CEO of Collaborative Compositions. And today I've got with us Danny Gomez, founder, CEO of First Person Xperience. Danny, who are you and what do you do?
Hey, Chelsea. Great to have me on. Thank you so much for inviting me. I am complicated. That's a great word. But no, I always start with the fact that I'm an Army guy. Even with civilians, I say, hey, like I'm an Army guy, right? I've been in the Army 22 years. It's 23 this year in June. I did a lot of stuff there. But during that time, I decided to get out of active duty and switch over to the reserves and start my business, First Person Xperience. But now I find myself balancing both worlds daily because you can't take the Army out of the soldier, right? Even if he gets off active duty. But yeah, I think I commissioned 2003. Did Iraq as an artilleryman twice, went out there with 1st Cav, joined Special Operations, was a civil affairs guy for a while. That's my favorite job. Went to civil affairs. I became an instructor at the John F. Kennedy Special Warfare Center and School, where I was in charge of making the scenarios to train our guys to deploy all across the world. So I had to make, what does this person do? What world are they in? What are the rules? Like, how do they talk to each other? And I love that so much. My absolute favorite job, that I thought to myself, can I take this and bring it to the civilian world and have people do the exact same thing except for fun and not life or death? It was a good idea. I did that. I tried it out, created this amazing experience in New York. It was like being in The Walking Dead except in real life. And it was very fun. I learned a lot, but there's some things that you can only learn about business by doing it, right? And I did learn that. My biggest gap was the marketing piece. I didn't know you need a multi-million-dollar budget to effectively market in New York. That's okay.
Yeah.
But overall, still was a really great. I learned a lot. Like the things that I tried out, would people like this type of entertainment? Would people enjoy the way that it's styled and stuff like that? That was successful. So I called it a great experiment. So I went back to my roots and started training people in national defense stuff, training special operations guys, doing contracting for that. And now we're starting some new projects that I think everyone will really love in the national defense industry, which we're definitely going to talk about. But yeah, that's my whole life in like a 2-minute.
I'm envisioning an opportunity to do like first person, like wargaming and getting into some of that scenario creation for what you might experience when you get into like a battlefield situation. Or how does it differ from what is deemed experiments, exercises in Department of War as they are now?
Oh, so much. The vernacular around this is just like military vernacular. In the entertainment world, everybody has these bad habits of using words that don't mean the thing that they mean, right? And I decided first person experience because I played a lot of video games, right? And
Sure.
in video games, let's say like the shooters, the Call of Duty, Halo, things like that. It's point of view, but a first person experience. It's like you're experiencing it. And that's what, whether it's entertainment or training, that's what I want the participant to have, right? That they're in the moment interacting with the thing in front of them, right? And that's where the magic happens, right? They're completely surrounded by the world and they're affected by it. Like our little 3 tagline is immerse, interact, experience, right? Those are like our 3 things. And the way we do that is number 1, we immerse you into the world. Immerse is like a dirty world. It's a dirty word now in the entertainment industry because nobody uses it correctly. But basically, if I took you off the screen and dunked you in this coffee cup, you'd be immersed in the coffee cup and in the coffee, right? I want to take someone and immerse them into the training, whatever world that is. Let's say it's Iraq, right? Put you into Iraq. You're in the desert. You're in an urban scenario. There's people speaking Arabic. They're Iraqi, and all this other stuff. Everything that comes with it. When we do that, we immerse you in it so that you're able to see it with all five senses, right? Hear it, see it, touch it, taste it, all that stuff. And then allowing you to forget about the rest of the world, right? Everything that's happening out there is happening out there. You don't think about Twitter or anything. You're in the moment dealing with the thing. The next thing is we want you to interact with it, right? The characters, the people in it, and the story itself. Everything is alive, just like real life. Whenever you do something, you may or may not have an effect on something else. So we want people to be able to do that when they're learning. You can't learn without trial and error. So we have that second piece of there. And then the third is experience. You go through the event or scenario or whatever we have scheduled for you. And then afterwards, you're left with a burning memory of what you did. If I put you in a classroom and just spit words at you all day, you probably won't remember it. Yeah. But if you're in there, the person's pointing a finger in your chest, they're yelling at you, or you did something that was a catastrophe in the battlefield, whatever, you will internalize that and you'll carry it with you. And that's the best way to remember something and learn from that. And then this experience, since it's stuck in your head, you get to rethink it. Just like in real life, when we're trying to think of something to say or things like that, we go back home and we're like, oh man, I should have done this. Or what if I did that? That can accelerate learning and give you many options in the future. So that's like how we do it. That's how we do the first person experience part, dunking you in, getting you to interact with all the stuff, using your five senses, and then going through that experiential learning model where your brain's going on this loop of remembrance. I think that's very important. It's what almost every training center uses. In the schoolhouse, we use it exactly the way it's supposed to, but other people, they give or take. There's some limitations of what we do. But that's our goal, to really get you in there and get you excited, interact, and then learn.
I love that. When we're talking like immersive, are we like flying people into a place and like setting up a real situation and scenario, or are we putting them in the virtual reality world? How does that work?
My secret weapon, I think, is people, right? When people interact with other people, you get the societal benefit of that. It's unconscious and enhances that. When I'm talking about immerse, preferably it would be in person.
Okay.
Because that's when you get to activate all the senses. Right. You can't smell through the screen. That's just a thing that is probably a benefit in some cases, probably not in some. But when you're in real life, you get to use all your senses, even the senses that aren't listed, right? The way things feel, the weight of stuff, your balance, all the stuff is affected. Ideally, it would be in person. I'm creating a new thing called the lab, right? The lab will be a first of its kind national defense laboratory for teaching creativity and idea experimentation.
Interesting.
It's new and exciting. I'm working on it, but we are going to start virtual, right? Where we can bring people in to these scenarios and interact with them virtually. So you'll be talking to people, whether it's AI assisted or not, that doesn't really make a difference. As long as you're talking to people, interacting with them, you get to have agency there, so you can do things that affect the situation. And then we will accent that by having these in-person experiences as well for bigger events. We just did a fantastic event with ASU. It was called Project Genesis, and it was teaching about artificial intelligence and the risk and rewards of that, right? So people were in the room, 360 screens, an actual human girl dressed as a robot, but that's okay. But fully themed, full story written all around it. We had researchers there with her, helping people go through the process of learning, and it really created an impact on everyone there. And then we provided a way for them to interact virtually by going to our website. We had QR codes that they could learn more about it. and things like that. We're going to do two things: create this virtual world and then have in-person events that accent it. And like I said, immersive, in your face. When I think of immerse, it's surrounded by.
Yeah.
If I had goggles on, you're only surrounded by your eyesight. You can't touch things. You can't do all that other stuff. Some people figure out how to do one or two more things, but I truly think in person's better. I'm not a hater, don't get me wrong. There are a lot of things really that virtual reality does very well, but that's not us.
First of all, creativity is not a word that you typically hear associated with Department of War, Department of Defense efforts or endeavors, and national security is not usually associated with the creative type. So how are you blending those two kind of
Oh my
different
God.
verticals?
You really get me started today. Oh my God.
I love it.
Yeah, my quote: creativity is rewarded on the battlefield and punished in garrison. Because the military is a bureaucracy. Number one rule of a bureaucracy is survive. The bureaucracy must live. Well, if people come in and start rocking the boat, it upsets it, right? And the bureaucracy activates its antibodies and it attacks, right? They don't want you to try new things back at home station, right? They don't want you to take risk because creativity is risky. Not everybody is very effective at using creativity. It requires trial and error, right? So that's why it's not championed in garrison. On the battlefield, though, if you don't think fast, you're dead. Yeah. So the creativity is rewarded there because people get to try new things because they have no other choice. Everybody knows the war in Ukraine versus Russia right now. Every single day, soldiers are innovating and they're using their creativity to do that. And if they fail, they die. I don't personally like sharing videos about that stuff. You could see examples of unique ways things are used to successfully attack the enemy. Right. But one of the things that really hits hard to me was like the Russian soldiers dressing up their tanks like trees. Yeah. Or another one, a guy dressed like a penguin. And then guess what? The UAV saw him and blew him to pieces all over the battlefield. And it's horrific. I don't like people dying, and I'm not picking sides, don't get me wrong. But they tried and the creativity failed and then they died. Right. And that's how it is in real life. When we go to war, that's how it was when I was there. That's how it will be in the future. And I really think it's a mandate to use creativity so we can do that before getting into war, because the difference is paid in blood. Every soldier trying something new is trying something new to save their life. Or if you're like on the Russian side or Ukrainian side, they're trying it to achieve their objective so that they could secure their country or whatever it is, or succeed in their mission. So that's why I talk about it. That's why I think it's absolute and imperative for all national defense professionals. I understand that bureaucracy. Yeah. My commander sat me down and told me he does not like my creativity with his words. And it was fact because he couldn't hang. It's okay. Yeah. Not everybody can hang. But I was doing things because I was training my people to the best ability and I was being creative in doing that. And the only result I have from doing that was every single person I trained calling me still to this day to tell me how much they learned. Calling me in country saying, hey, remember we did the thing? That just happened here in real life. Hey, remember when this happened? We just did that yesterday in real life because there was an emergency. And I still keep in touch with my guys, and it really brings joy to my soul. It was successful. Yeah. I took a chance. I was creative, got destroyed for it. Yeah. And it was also successful. Hey, I'll be fine. Because I wasn't doing it for me. We understand that. And my company understands that. My people that I work with understand that. And we're trying to balance that. I cannot make DOW a creative organization, but I can make its people creative. I can help with that, and I can help it get better. We can't solve it because it's a bureaucracy, right? We can help it make it better, and that's what I'm trying to do.
And I love that. I think that a very key point is really understanding the difference between creativity in different scenarios. And stateside creativity while you're in the classroom, it may appear risky, it may appear more costly if it fails, but in real like battle scenarios, when you're actually at war, you've got to deal with a variety of things that you inevitably have to get creative about because you probably haven't gone through the process of blowing each other up in situations in the classroom. It either costs risk and money or lives. And to understand how to balance that effectively is inevitably challenging. But I can't imagine that it's necessarily easy for folks that are still in that silo in which they are pretty much told to do your job, do what I tell you, don't do anything outside of that. Don't get all creative here because we ultimately have set aside this responsibility for you, and for you to try to get creative or bring new ideas in could potentially cause some delays, or it could cost time or money or cause risk to increase. When in reality, I think that exploring those limits, those boundaries in scenarios in which you might come into contact with or you might face in the battlefield, that inevitably has to be more helpful than just saying, we were told to do this, we follow the instructions as written on paper, and we just go about it that way. I can't imagine that's an easy paradigm shift for folks to really grip onto.
Yeah, it's tough. We're asking them to go counterculture, right?
Yep.
I did both. I was in conventional and I was in special operations. So special operations, you literally have a very wide berth. You get the commander's intent, good luck. And you have to use your creativity, whether people know it or not, to create a course of actions that'll achieve objectives. And even the commander's intent, that's just like a make-believe thing, right? I want to do this thing, make it happen. That thing doesn't exist. So you have to get there somewhere. So you have to apply critical and creative thinking to that aspiration. So I think it's an easier mental jump from a special operations perspective, but conventional army, it is harder because you're told what to do and when to do it. And there's a reason for that. We're a combined arms force. I was artillery guy, right? So we could deliver synchronized fires on target. And if you don't train for that task, you can't achieve it. Except in training, you don't have UAVs screaming at you 80 miles an hour packed with TNT.
Yeah.
There's things that we need to train on to achieve our mastery of our skill. And then we need that extra mandate in there to understand that war might not be like this. And I think that's on our leaders. Our leaders need to share that with us. I always trained my guys. I'm not saying everybody should do this, but they probably should. But I always train my guys 99-1. I said 99-1 because we have to practice that 1% emergency situation. So we practice E&E drills, down driver, casualty evacuation, movement to contact, which the chance of that happening are infinitesimal. I think out of every single team that deployed to the Pacific, maybe was ever used like maybe once out of all the teams for the last 15 years. But guess what? You only have one chance because if you don't do it right, you're dead.
Yeah.
We always have that in our training. But here's the thing. Everyone else, that was their only training.
Okay.
They only trained on that stuff.
Yeah.
So we always had that in our training, number one. And then we had the 99. What are we going to do every day?
Yep.
Every day we're going to wake up, have a plan, go out, do the mission, talk to people. Talk to people is our number one task in civil affairs, talking to people, right?
Yeah.
Report writing, right? All that stuff. So the whole training exercise incorporated all of that into it as well. Whereas no one else would train on that stuff. They would just train on blowing, shooting, moving, stuff like that. But I felt that you need to do both. You need to have that balance because they are going to do those 99 things every single day. Talk to people, write an email, write a report, do a mission plan, etc. And then we have to make sure we can survive. So that's just how I went about it. And I think that for, let's say, conventional artillery unit, right?
Sure.
They should absolutely practice their firing tables, right? Setting up, moving, shooting. But then after you get that down, you got to add something that they're not prepared for. UAV strikes, disrupted logistics, down C2, right? Using Starlink to transmit data, crazy stuff like that. Whatever it is, you should have that in there, right? It should be a mandate.
I think that's so often overlooked. I'm fairly sure these exercises and activities that are like experimentation activities even are really like heavily documented. They're very rigid in their borders, parameters, and the things that they intend to have tested. And I get that from a scientific standpoint. You want to have those like controlled variables that you're making sure that you're accounting for, but having those other aspects that are inevitably going to happen at once every 99 times, that has to be taken into consideration to be able to effectively train and progress towards what may be coming. It has to be something that you have to get ready for. And I'm assuming that was a little bit of the idea behind the AI thing with ASU is like folks are probably not wholesale prepared for AI at this point. So tell me a little bit more about
one of the quotes is, I was hopefully unprepared for this. Right? It's a challenge, right? There's some quotes from senior leaders, right? They want creative they want creative thinkers. They want to prepare their soldiers to fight the next war, right? We're not even fighting today's war.
Yeah.
When we were even in Iraq, Afghanistan, we weren't even fighting the war that we were fighting. We were fighting yesterday's war.
Ooh.
We were fighting a war that we didn't prepare for and preparing for a war that we will never fight, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because like
does.
even in the
It
training
does.
centers, we fought things that didn't look anything like what we were doing.
Yeah.
And that's just how it was. I know I could tell the future 100%. People are like, oh, are you a futurist? No. But here's the future, 100%. Write it down. Anybody can write it down. In the next war, the adversary will create a challenge for us with something that has no name because it doesn't exist yet. And we will have to figure out a way to counteract that challenge. And do you know how I know this? Because it's literally every single conflict in the history of warfare that happens.
Yes.
The longbow, catapults, gunpowder, tanks, machine guns, aircraft, EFPs, drones, fiber optic drones, Starlink. I could go on for GPS.
Yeah.
You go on forever. Bottom line is, none of those things had a name before it was created.
Yeah.
And war is just putting the pointy metal thing into the other guys. There's always things that happen that change the complete dynamics, right? Everybody knew about drones. Some people knew about fiber optics. Everybody knew about remote control guidance. Some people knew about jammers. Now take the drone. No, we got to jam it. Okay, fiber optic cable. Oh, but that only works with tow missiles. Now look at the battlefield. It looks like giant spiders took over the entire front line because the entire thing's covered with millions of miles of fiber optic cable. Everybody understands in the history of war, cover and concealment. What does that look like? Do I go for cover first or concealment first? All the tanks, they have cover and concealment.
Yeah.
That they're trying to create. I think I read somewhere that 60% of Ukrainian positions are decoys.
Wow.
Which is like, when have we created a decoy? I just talked to one of my guys. He was one of my team leaders. Now he's a battalion commander. He was talking about one of the units brought decoys with them to NTC.
Nice.
And then the commanders, no, don't use that. That sounds like a great idea.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's challenging. But the biggest thing is you go back to the 9/11 report, right?
Right.
It quotes it in there, a failure of imagination to identify these signals that were happening in the world and say, what if X combined with Y and they used it for Z? We need to do that as national defense professionals. We need to be ready for that stuff. It's our job.
Yeah.
It's our job.
Yeah.
How could you be prepared for defense if you're not prepared to deal with all this other stuff?
Yeah. What were some of the lessons that you learned in the AI event that you put on with
It was such a great event. We tricked people into thinking that she was a real robot, which is great.
I love that.
Yeah, they were like, oh my God, she's a real person. Anyway, it was really fun. The purpose was to leave people with a feeling of unpreparedness and understand that there's a lot more things at play than putting prompts into a computer.
Right.
And we feel that we achieved it. That's what people told us. That's what our client told us as well, that we absolutely achieved that. And the way we did that was just everything I mentioned before, immerse them in the use all their senses, based in the story world, have them interact with it. So they were making decisions. They had to train a supercomputer AI to take over national defense. Would I do that? No, but that's okay because this is our role. We were specifically designed to do that. So that's the scenario we put them in. No win, but it's okay. And they had to train this person. So they had to train this AI, her name was Eve, to be in charge of all national defense. And they had a challenge with that, right? We proposed questions like what data should she train on? What control measures should you establish, right? And they didn't fall for the dichotomy that we pitched. We were like, these 2 points of data. And they're like, no, we got to use both. And they did very well with that. All of them did. But in the end, it was their human actions that led to these certain situations where when we forecasted this dystopian future of the AI controlling everything, these human actions carried forward, right, into that future. So what do I mean by that? In the first one, the first group, they trained appropriately, established control measures appropriately, did not trust her 1 second.
Oh, no.
Completely distrust. So what we had was in the future, we had her identify a bioengineered plague that would take out all of our food, right? Our wheat stocks and things like that. But because the people didn't trust her, they didn't believe her.
Oh, no.
And it led to a disastrous effects, right? And people are like, oh, I can't win. This wasn't meant to win. This was meant to go through the steps and think about it, right? They thought through the training model. They thought through the control measures. Now they should think through their trust models. If I have a supercomputer that I don't even trust, is it even a supercomputer?
Yeah. How super is it?
Yeah. Or if I trust it to infinity, maybe I shouldn't. Right?
Sure.
That's what we left them with. Questioning themselves, questioning, do they understand why the things are happening? So that was just a perfect example of how we went through that process, how they achieved their learning objectives in using play. Play is a dirty word in the Army. You don't use the word play. Last time I checked, when we were kids with sticks running around in the mud, you're playing soldier. Guess what? When you're a soldier running around with weapons in the mud, you're still playing. Unless it's real war, then you're not playing anymore. Anyway, that's how we did it, and that's how we achieved our goal. And our future project, the lab, will allow these type of events to happen in person, but also virtual. And that's what we're trying to bring, this unique type of training to everyone.
I love that. I would have loved the opportunity to do something like that in college. And now I would still love the opportunity to do something like that. It's such a unique opportunity to get, like you said, immerse yourself in situations that are impacted by your surroundings, that are impacted by other people's decisions, because inevitably you are not the only one that is going to have a say on what happens in the future. Like you've got to take into account all of the other factors that come into play in setting that action plan out. And that's incredibly interesting to me, and I love what you're doing. What's next? What are you going to go do next?
Oh, we are in the process of building the lab. What does it even look like? And people always ask me, I don't get it. What does it look like? I'm working on it, but it's going to be great. This was our first test with ASU, is that expeditionary in-person event. Can we bring the stuff and bring you into our world, right?
Yeah.
We had these guys called researchers, Morning City researchers. They were there telling people what to do, talking about the robot, and people were scared of us. It was very funny. Because we have these unique uniforms that were really awesome. But we had a whole story behind us, right? And people were like, whoa, what's going on here? How do I deal with it? So we practiced that, and we were able to do that in person. And we're going to be doing that a lot more this year, going to these events and doing these type of custom-made training events for different groups. That's number one. We're going to keep doing that. Next, we're building the lab so then we can have people who are in Tennessee be able to access this type of training, knowledge, and experimentation from afar. So every single person on earth can click on Duo and practice Espanol every day, right? And if you don't, he gets mad.
Oh,
right? And you don't want to fail Duo. So what does that look like for national defense personnel? How can they engage with each other? Is it through LinkedIn? You don't want to put a
Totally.
wrong
Yeah.
comment on there and then people get upset at you. Is it on
Yeah.
Twitter? No. Those things are not made for discourse, even though it has its place.
Sure.
LinkedIn has its purpose. I use it every day. It's probably too much. Twitter has its purpose. Also use it every day. Probably too much. What about the people that do engage in discourse with white papers, right? And articles in journals and stuff like that? How many people are reading those? How come it's only designed to meet those type of people? What about people who can't read that? One of the guys who works on my team, he does not like reading. It's hard for him. And he's a super genius. He's able to tie things together that are so beautiful and amazing and helped us so much with our project. But what about those people? Is it just for podcast people? So now you're a podcast bro or you're a white paper reader? We're trying to create additional engagement where people can get sticky with us, get engaged in this type of discussions, and then take it to the next level by playing with us, interacting with our lands, and do that. One of the unique things we're doing, just like we did with the AI project, we're creating our own fictional world where every single soldier has fought on a foreign battlefield in the training centers, right?
Yep.
In NTC, it's Atropia. Over here in Fort Bragg, it's called Pineland. A lot of other places out there. We are building our own. And everyone's going to get to come. Everyone's going to get to engage with the people that live there, engage with the national defense policies that we established there. And it's going to be unlike anything that anyone's ever done. And I understand it's a lot of work, but that's what we're going to do. We're figuring out the processes on what does that look like.
Yeah.
It's probably going to start off with maybe you could comment on their post, right? Maybe you can review some of the news that's going on until it gets super crazy and you get to talk to people in real time. That's what we're working on, but we got to start somewhere, and that's going to be pretty soon.
I love that. I would love to be first on the list of folks
Awesome.
to be able to participate and join. Like, that sounds so cool. Yes, absolutely. That would be amazing. It sounds fun. It sounds interactive. It sounds entirely engaging, and like it could really get some people really motivated and second guess their choices, second guess their decision making, and second guess their preconceived notions about how things are going to work and how things could potentially work. I think that's an absolutely amazing environment to put forward.
Oh, thank God you're recording this, because I was like, how do I capture the words, throw it in my rucksack, right? Because that is exactly what we're going for. And let me just take it a little bit further, right?
Yeah.
Do you know Marvel, the comic book guys, right?
Sure.
All those guys. All right. Black Panther.
Yep.
Black Panther's in Marvel. He's from a place called Wakanda. For those of you who know, it's a futuristic ethno-state in Africa where it's a monarchy. It has a super strong, fancy magic material called vibranium. And everyone who knows about Marvel knows about this. Guess what? When the movie Black Panther came out, guess what happened to the search engines? What was the number one search thing? How can I visit Wakanda? That says a lot for two reasons. One, it doesn't exist. So why are you like Googling to go to a place that doesn't exist? Like it's in a movie. Two, it doesn't exist, but I still want to go, right? Because you made it look so awesome, right? Congratulations, Disney, for that one. You made it look so awesome, and I never heard about this place, but now I want to learn more. But guess what? If you know about Wakanda and I know about Wakanda, together we know about Wakanda. So if I say, what if they opened their borders and distributed vibranium to our adversaries? What would happen? That would be a big challenge because our vibranium could go straight through an M1A3 tank, right? Well, because you and I both know about this place, we can now think creatively about it, right? And even start adding that to our planning process on how do we accomplish certain goals and objectives. And we can play with these ideas.
Yeah.
That's what we're going for, right? But shared understanding, playing with concepts, and in the end, we are better armed in our own thinking and in our experimentation methods. It doesn't say we'll succeed in anything, but that's okay because we're trying. I always love the picture of Elon Musk over his first rocket that exploded with all the pieces. Look at them now.
Yep.
Look at them now. He's going for 1 million Starlink satellites, however many spaceships he launched, I lost count. But the problem is that he would never have gotten there without failure to drive him forward. The military needs to understand that. And we always say we have no fail missions.
Yeah.
And there's a reason for that, because people die when we fail our missions.
Yeah.
Look at Venezuela.
Yeah.
Miraculously, no one died, but it was a no-fail mission, because if they failed, someone would die. We would lose a lot of standing, all this other stuff. But we need to understand that we need to incorporate that type of thinking when we're doing these things, that maybe we'll practice it and fail there. They rehearsed that probably 1,000,000 times before they did it. But why can't we do the same with our geopolitical stance, right? Rehearsing how we approach things, with our critical materials policy, with our border control policy, right? Why are we not trying and failing there? I was an instructor at JSOU, Joint Special Operations University, and I taught some border patrol agents. She was in charge of the largest entry point in Texas from Mexico. And I asked her, how much of the day do her people spend innovating? And she said 0.
Yeah.
And then I said, how much of the day does the cartel spend innovating? And if it doesn't matter, if it's 5 minutes, that's 5 minutes more than us. So we'll never catch up. And it would take a Herculean effort to ever catch up. So that's all runs together in my crazy circle of thought. We can make positive changes using this type of stuff, using the lab or anything like that to enhance how we approach these things, right?
Yeah. And I don't remember who said it, but somebody at some point said, if you don't try, you've already failed. And I think that is an excellent point for this conversation, is you've got to try, and you've got to be willing to try, and you've got to be willing to do things a little bit differently than you did last time, because if you ultimately weren't successful last time, then you've got to figure out other different ways of going about it. And those lessons that you learn from that creative play is incredible. I'm watching my 7-month-old daughter try to learn how to crawl, and it's beautiful seeing all of these different things that she's trying, and the creativity in her is just at a peak at this point, and I just want to absolutely nurture that 100%.
One day they're trying to figure out how to balance their head back and throw their body forward. The next day they're telling you which shotgun to use on Fortnite, right?
Yeah.
That's my son, like it just amazed me every day. We were driving back from school last week, and he's, what if we made a movie about this? And I'm like, oh my God, that's the greatest thing I've ever heard in my life. I was like, oh, we got to start writing it right now. But yeah, for everyone out there, watch the video, Do Schools Kill Creativity? One of the greatest things I've seen, because sometimes kids feel like they're lost.
Yeah.
Certain kids don't do well in school. You tell a kid to sit down and shut up and then do only what we say, they don't do well. You have to watch this video to understand. And I wish I could change the whole school program as well. Don't even get me started on that. But creativity should be nurtured.
Yeah.
Failure should not be punished.
Yeah.
Behavior should not be so strict. Once I'm done getting the lab going, I'll switch over to that. To
take on the
try
school
to help.
system. Yes.
Which unfortunately would be too late for my kids, but I tell them you need to go to school anyway. But they get it. Yeah.
And you're bringing them into the fold just by establishing this and them watching you be creative on a daily basis. They get that opportunity to witness
that's my dream.
The genius in the making.
They've helped me with this already. Like, they helped me design the logos. I don't have one right here in front of me. Yeah, all my patches are in the garage. But they helped me design the logos. They helped me work on the storylines and things like that. I don't have any with me.
Well,
anyway,
send that over and we'll get that in the show notes.
I'll definitely, because it's super sick.
I love that.
Yeah, we want to do things very, very different.
Danny, if somebody out there is listening to this and they want to get a hold of you, they want to know more about what you're doing, they want to get involved in the lab, or they want to get involved in the next world that you create, how do they do that?
Oh, yeah. Hey, go to my website. It's the word first, the word person, and the word experience without the E, Xperience.com, firstpersonexperience.com. You can look me up on LinkedIn. Please connect with me. And then we're going to be turning on the lab. Website's up, but it's just not going, right? But the lab is livingadaptivebattlefield.com. You could just sign up right now, but we don't got anything going yet. But you know, be the first, you might get a special prize, right?
Love that. Yeah.
Please reach out to me there. Send me money, whatever you want. Hire us. Well, you don't have to send money. You could hire us to do a customized education for you guys. I would love to teach special operations folks, anybody in national defense, intelligence. One of the gaps I see is the academia gap.
Yep.
How do we get people interested in national security? Those in the universities, how do we get them in the game besides internships, right? Like, how do we get people interested in the military? People don't know about that stuff. Maybe I want to crawl to the dirt is the only thing I thought about when going to the military, right? How do we get people interested in that and engaged? And I think that this is just one of those ways you can do that. So yeah, sign up.
I am extremely excited to see what comes next, and I cannot wait to get my passport for your amazing new world that you're creating. And I think that there's just an immense amount of value in what you're doing and the types of creative thought that you're trying to bring into the national security landscape. Danny, this has been a fantastic conversation. I really appreciate you hopping on the show. This has just been an amazing sort of creative back and forth.
I'm absolutely overwhelmed to the feeling, like I love sharing my idea to people who would love to listen. So I'm glad we could make those two things meet. And anytime you want to have me on, just give me a call and keep talking, and maybe we'll run into each other again, right?
Yeah. Yes. 100%.
For those of you who know, she said, "Look for me. I'll be in the sparkly boots." And I was leaving for the day. It was like at 1700, and I had to go because I only could stay one day. And I crossed by this girl in the street, and she had sparkly boots, and I said, "Sparkly boots," and that was her. And it was so funny. It was her. I just didn't get the chance to talk to her. But since then, we've talked, and now we're BFFs. So
it's great. I will definitely have you back on the show, and we will absolutely get you featured again once you've got some more things going with the lab and with your development. I think it's an awesome opportunity to give folks some creative buzz for their week ahead. Again, appreciate you being on the show, and thanks to everybody who tuned in this week to GovCon Unscripted. Don't forget to share, subscribe, get this into your friends' ear holes, and do your part. Leave a heart if you've got an opportunity. So thanks all, and we'll see you next week.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks for listening to this episode of GovCon Unscripted with your host, Chelsea Roberts. Do you have a GovCon story or need guidance in government contracting? Connect with Chelsea on LinkedIn to be a guest on the show or to enhance your business strategy. Don't forget, your network is your net worth. If you liked what you heard, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share this episode with your growing GovCon community.